It's like, what were you doing with my drapes? The drapes that were hanging in the apartment. I never got the answer to that. This is Kari from Sky Properties. Today I read an article that made me look twice at what my qualifications might be for a new tenant and to see if I could make any adjustments. And I think it's important that you do keep up on these things and make adjustments, because fair housing issues are things you don't want to run into when you're renting to a new tenant. I learned that you cannot copy a military ID. I did not know that. I learned you want to make sure that when you get renter's insurance that you make sure that they don't just cover their own personal property, but that you want to make sure they have at least $100,000 in liability. You want to make sure that the person that is applying for the unit is actually the person that's moving in. So you want to do your due diligence on the person moving in, meaning if you need to call their work and ask for them to make sure that they actually work there and that they're applying for an apartment. I learned that at this time, the only conviction you can deny without running into a fair housing issue is for manufacturing or distributing controlled substances. What they're saying is for running a criminal background check, the only time you can deny without perhaps getting into a fair housing issue is if it's because they were convicted of making drugs. The other thing that I learned is that the new credit check fee is now $53.33, but you have to give a written explanation of how you spent that $53. Yeah, and I didn't know you had to provide an itemized receipt for the credit check money that you collect, which it would seem that would be obvious, but I think some people maybe do like an $8 credit check and then charge the full $53, and you can't do that. You have to be able to justify the credit check fee. For military members, even if they have terrible credit, if you're allowing them to move in based on your criteria, you can only collect 1 month's security deposit, equal to 1 month's rent. And that is different because normally you can collect up to 2 months, equal to 2 months of the rent. Also, that we have a no cosigner policy at Sky Properties, and it's okay not to take cosigners. You don't have to, although we will take a cosigner if it's a reasonable accommodation. For instance, we will sometimes take a cosigner for students, or sometimes for elderly, or simply we'll consider it if it's requested that we do consider it and we think that it's reasonable. Where we find that we run into trouble is if the person that's trying to apply for the apartment either doesn't financially qualify or that has bad credit, and you're still trying to squeeze a round ball into a square shape. It just doesn't work.